Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Barry, that Goat Metal Show. I'm over here with my partner, Rich, the silent producer. All right, and we have a special guest. We have Brian Orce with us, one of the producers from heavy metal in Baghdad, and it is an honor and a pleasure to have you on. I mean, it was just coincidental that I was able to get in contact with you due to the fact that me and you have you have your sister went and just mentioned you, and I'm like, oh, I got to get him on the channel, and she's like, oh, he'll love it,
Yeah.
he'll love it, you know.
There's so few people who know about the movie these days. So when you meet people who do, they really do care about it.
Yeah.
Um, which is nice. I didn't think we didn't think we were doing it that any of us would be talking about it afterwards. Um, yeah, and just a minor correction, last name rhymes with source,
So
Orse.
horse.
Yeah.
I just, I
Everyone always tries to make it more interesting. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
it's just
yeah, look, and
it's
then
fine.
me and I'm one of those, and I always apologize to people, especially when I talk interview bands and stuff. I say, listen, it's not that I'm doing it on purpose. I try, and it just sounds like a 10-year-old doing it. I'm sorry, but
No, 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 no.
all right. Well, let me let's get started. I mean, just my first one's gonna be to you. Just give the people watching a brief little summary of you and what you've been up to.
Okay, so to preceding the film, I graduated college in 2004. Um, I did a bunch of backpacking in Europe and South America, and when I came back, I bartended, and through a friend that worked at MTV, um, found out about Vice. I didn't really know about Vice before 2005. Um, and I really like their back in those days it was more like humor angle than news angle.
Yeah,
So like I like their sense of humor. Um, it's it was much more underground back then before like all the money started coming in. Um, and so I was interning there starting in 2006. And then I got hired later that year. Um, and when I got hired, I actually missed a bunch of days because they told me I was hired by email to my work email address that I didn't know I had.
oh wow.
And so I still was like showing up intern hours, which was like only 3 days a week and like partial days or whatever. Um, so that was kind of funny, sort of indicative of how the place worked. Whatever, but it was a lot of fun, but it was kind of a pressure cooker. Um, and yeah, so uh, well before that, back in high school, I had done an internship at the IRC, which is the International Rescue Committee,
Mhm.
and they started as an organization that got painters and artists out of Europe before World War II.
Oh,
Um,
that's
so it
cool.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And because of that connection, I like kind of got the light bulb that they'd want to maybe take these artists out of, at the time they were in Syria. Yeah, yeah, at the time they were in Syria, and then we got them to Turkey, and then from Turkey we got them to the States. Um, and the IRC hopped in for the Turkey part. And that was hard. Because initially we didn't know like initially the plan was we would make the movie. Everyone sort of started to realize that you know uh, this is putting a big spotlight on these guys, and you got to remember 2005, it was the Iraq War shit, and it's gotten, I guess, significantly worse since then, but back then it seemed pretty bad. And so we knew we had to get them. out of there because it initially started. Well, I'm going all over the place. Um, I'm gonna stop there. You can redirect. I don't know. Like I do. It's sort of hard to talk about myself without talking about like how it get connects
No,
to the film, and then it's sort of like Vice. I don't know. But anyway, so it initially was just a bunch of videos that was no there was no thought to making it a movie. We were just like visiting a Krasakauta in Iraq initially, and then in Syria. It was initially an article by Gideon Yago, who he's a great writer. He was at the time or earlier than that, he was an MTV News guy. Um, and so the name might ring some bells for older folks. Uh, and so his article got the story started, got us in touch with those guys, and we stayed in touch, did a bunch of video. There was a lot of shooting done for Vice before. uh, Back then they called it VBS, the TV part, Vice Broadcasting System, um, and so there was a lot of stuff shot with no plan on what to do with it, and we weren't selling to TV at that point or anything, or didn't even think that that would ever happen. So it was just like we would just get video of all the stories we did, everything like that. That was initially Spike Jonze's idea, um, to kind of just have us bring a camera everywhere, on all the cool kind of weird places that we would go. And so Gideon Yego's article got us there. Um, and at a certain point, it was Bernardo Loyola, the editor. He was the main editor, head of editorial, and he was pretty much the only editor in the beginning. There was like a few others, but he was the main guy in edit one, the edit room one. Hi. Um, and he it was his idea and his kind of baby to piece together all the different stuff that they had shot to kind of he's like we could make this a movie, and so him, Eddie Moretti, and Sarush Alvi, um Sarush being one of the founders and head of Vice Records, and Eddie being the creative lead at VBS, the just the video part, not the magazine. They were more separate back then. um and so I got pulled into it. I didn't like organize or arrange any of the trips there. That was before me, and then right when I was starting. But when they started having to get it ready to be a proper film, to get a DVD packaging, all that stuff done, the finalizing of it that you have to do that you don't have to do for web content, and certainly didn't have to do for web content in 2007. Um, yeah, it was not taken terribly seriously by many people back then, so it was sort of easy for Vice to be the first people to show you a lot of different stuff. Um, and so I got pulled in to do stuff like the DVD packaging. You have to get a transcript of it, effectively the script, but it's a documentary, so you have to do it retroactively. And then checking for stuff you got to blur out or random things like that, compliance, uh, quality assurance type stuff.
yeah.
Um, and then you get it on a bunch of different special formatted tapes. You fill out a bunch of different. It's like applying to colleges, going to the film, or at least back then, going to the uh, film festivals and all that. Because that was our game plan. You get it, you go to the festivals, then you get somebody to distribute it and all that. And we were pretty an interesting little curiosity because we weren't a war film, but we weren't a music film, and so it was a good kind of. It was always the odd one, depending on if you were hard news talking about it, because it had like an actual musical component, and if it was like a music documentary, it was interesting because it had that actual like um, real world component. The poster, the DVD cover for it, which I don't. uh, maybe I do. Um, was an explosion, and there's also another alternate cover with the guys. Um,
Yeah, the one with
yeah.
the guys, the
Okay.
one with
So
the
and
guys is the
then
one you see the most, right? That's the one that you see the most
yeah,
with the guys.
yeah, yeah. And so what happened? So yeah, around that time we were like, okay, so we assumed that we they would a film festival. The first one that we got into was the Toronto International Film Festival, um, and that was in 2000, end of 2007, pretty sure. Um, and we kind of naively at the time assumed that we'd be able to get them, on a plane over here or at least to Canada, and then they just don't get on the plane back. That was the plan. Um, and uh, this was sort of this had been done before, but we decided to go the route of Sarush had reached out to Metallica because Metallica had found out about them and was interested, and uh, I think their lawyers sort of helped us a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, yeah, helped us like get our ducks in a row. We had to like I had to be uh the band's anchor because they weren't they weren't all of the same religion, they weren't all related. So to get their cases handled by one like thing, you have to have an anchor sponsor kind of in the States, and that ended up being me because I had the relationship with the IRC. Which was I talking about that before the show, or was I did I
But that, yeah,
mention
you
that?
actually spoke about it, yeah, during
Yeah.
this part. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, so because of that relationship, I kind of became the head of getting them over here. But again, we thought that was going to be easy at the time. Um, we thought, a festival would, surely sponsor them, and Canada, they weren't able to get them over. And then we were like, okay, well, Europe maybe, Germany, because we got into the Berlin International Film Festival. Um, and Germany surprisingly was unable to do it too. So then we started to sweat because not only are we failing to get them over, but we've also made a documentary about them. Um, and in it, this is no longer like classified, but like in it, it's like they it's detailed that they helped Americans, worked with Americans, um, during the war effort and all these things. Um, and we kind of how do I say this? I guess we were worried that we painted a target on their backs, sort of. So I went into Sarush's office and I was like, we need to kind of take this into our own hands, getting them over here. And so that was when the IRC got pulled in, and for the next 8 to 9 months, I was on the phone like every single day at like 4 or 5 in the morning because Turkey business hours, because it was the UNHCR in Turkey, and that's where they had to take 9 hour bus rides to get some medical check for like they were refugees illegally from Iraq through Syria to Turkey, but it was pretty bad treatment. Again, back then it's all gotten worse now, but they because like Turkish police would like drive Iraqi refugees like up into the mountains and just like leave them,
Damn.
and they were not allowed to work, but they had to pay money to live, but also to do all the different like I had to do a lot of clerical work and faxes and just paperwork insanity on their behalf because like eh, there's no resources. They had no ability to do this. There was no printers and they didn't have computers and things like that. And you couldn't do anything on your phones. Again, 2005, 2006, the iPhone came out in 2007. And
Yeah.
the iPhone that came out in 2007, you couldn't copy paste. So like
Yeah.
you couldn't do shit
Yeah.
if you didn't have like a real actual computer. Because people will say, "Oh, there's no, you couldn't." So that made it very difficult. So I was always on the phone with them, calming them down, like because it was also psychologically very taxing on them. Um, and like on me, it like destroyed me mentally and physically. Um, like I have an uneven number of teeth because I kept cracking a tooth from gritting my teeth.
Ooh,
Uh, and I was cracking it I cracked it like 3 times, and the dentist kept charging me to fix it. And then I kind of was like, well, how much to just take it out? Um,
yeah.
and that was like, and I was getting, headaches, and that was from like another
Stress.
thing, but like,
Probably
yeah, it was
stress.
just
Probably
like it was
stress.
really bad. Like it, it's like a fun thing to say, but like I almost don't think I would have done it if I knew how hard it was going to be.
Mm.
Um, it was brutal because there's no days off. Something would always go wrong. I don't even remember like the details. I don't get any money off the book, but this is the book.
Hmm.
That's an oral history of the guys and everything that happened like after. And I'm in like a few like large chunks of it. Uh, and that's like if you wanted like the really gritty details, but I don't even remember like the day to day. I do remember there was stuff like Marwan, who he played drums. He had trouble. There kept being like issues with his fingerprints, and it turns out, as we know now, like it wasn't sort of common knowledge back then, like drummers wear off their thumbprints.
Yeah, they got a lot.
Like
They got a
have
lot of blisters.
yeah,
A lot of blisters.
yeah.
Yeah.
They effectively like at the end, it's like they're not recognizable. They're not usable. So they didn't match with paperwork that
Wow.
he had. Uh, and they took that seriously. And this was in the beginning of the class database, the consular lookout and support system. It was the beginning. It wasn't the no-fly list, but it was something like it. And it was like tons of false positives. Uh, you know, if the most common name on earth is Mohammed, and if your name contains Mohammed, it's a potential hit on this list. So it's the stupidest fucking thing in the world. But we used it for a long time and spent billions of dollars on it.
Wow.
Um, and it was the bane of my existence. Like I got to like I could never work in that field in humanitarian work or whatever because there's just massive like there's no winning. Like then there's massive lot like I was able to luck out that we had I had resources to support me in this, obviously Vice and uh they had like notoriety, so it helped that there was a movie about it that more and more people started to see at the time, that helped get the ball rolling because most of the refugees were just you know I mean you see how it is,
Hmm.
it's never been good for them. Um and uh yeah so yeah so it was about 8 months of phone calls and everything like that. And they arrived sort of staggered, but within I think 3 4 months of each other. I want to say from November of 2008 to early 2009. It's gonna be embarrassing if that's wrong, but let me see if I can. Uh, hmm, I guess my stuff doesn't go back that far. All right. Anyway, pretty sure it's around then. When they eventually all got in, because there was a scary period where Tony, who's an early member of the band, he's no longer with them. Um, Tony and Faraz were first, and they were placed in Elizabeth, New Jersey, um, and yeah, then Faisal, then Marwan was last. I remember that. Um, and there was a little period in the middle where we were worried. I was worried that I would break up the band by only getting like two of them over. so that was like a high pressure couple of months too. Um, and every one of the guys, I have footage on like a dead hard drive. Footage I'm pretty sure I can't legally distribute anyway. But it's of the arrivals.
Mm.
Um, excuse me, it's of all the guys' arrivals, and every one of them. And it's again, this is me 20 years ago. Um, and I look like a little child. And so like they were all like they would ask, "Where's Brian?" Um, because I had been on the phone with them every day for 8 months. I was like the only voice they heard in a lot of in English in a lot of cases, and they would all be like shocked that it was me. They all said they pictured like this like fat older guy like because I because of the way I talked on the phone trying to calm them down you know um used very even tones and just didn't made you have to make them I would have to tell them when things were urgent, but no, it did no good ever stressing them out because they're already under a tremendous amount of stress.
Yeah.
Just being in that legal limbo, and people forget Turkey gets insanely cold, and there's in the parts that they were in, which I don't remember the specific names, but again, it's all in the book if anybody wants to get it. Um, um, yeah, so yeah, and I can talk about when they arrived or
Yeah, we're gonna definitely. I mean, that's gonna probably be one of the gist of what we're gonna get into eventually. Rich, if you
yeah.
want to go ahead and give them something, go ahead.
Yeah, you gave us a good chunk of a lot of information that we wanted to know. Um, I wanted to find out, were you actually out there? Like, did you travel out there and were part of the production actually in Iraq, or everything on your end was
No.
all done out here in America?
Yeah, it was all in the US. I didn't I traveled for Vice only to the film festivals,
Mhm.
um, not to any of the war zones or anything that we went to.
So when you communicated, a large percentage of you reaching out to them was mostly through phone, and I'm assuming through other contacts, through like computers or whatever resources they had available, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much phone. Because they didn't really have computers. They got email addresses when they got here. Um so yeah, I mean it was all phone, which is a real headache when you're dealing with like that kind of work because there'd be like long serial numbers they'd have to read me and like you know that's not fun when the connection is good and everybody's first language is English, and you've all had a good night's sleep. It's not easy, and that was never ever once the case. uh so
and
yeah.
and so as the project was unfolding and the years were progressing, I'm assuming that you created a bond with them where they trusted you, that they can proceed further and further when they felt that this was becoming a serious situation. And so it must have took a lot out of you to be like, wow, like I got into this lightly, but then like you were fully in, like it's it must have changed your personal
Yeah.
life around.
Yeah, I mean, there were multiple times that I really wanted to quit working at Vice. It's no longer a secret that it was not a fantastic place for your mental health to work at. The New York Times and several other like major publications have
Yeah.
covered that territory. Um, so and the pay was insultingly low, like really fucking bad. Um, and what was I? Uh, completely lost my train of thought.
By
What was the question again? Oh,
like
right. And I was
you're,
considering quitting a lot,
yeah.
and that kept me there
Mhm.
because I wouldn't be able to work on the case if I didn't work at Vice. Um, they didn't have enough people. Um, and frankly, I don't know who would have or could have or would have had the, motivation to do it. Um, because it was, it was very easy to kind of just leave it aside. Um,
So this leads me to my next question. Did you ever felt working with the project that at any point, like maybe you personally were in danger or at risk, or did you ever get any heat working with?
yeah, so I never felt like I was in danger. There was a few things. Like one time we had to send them a care package to Syria. And at the time, you could not send things to Syria, like legally, you literally couldn't, like FedEx wouldn't take things to Syria. Um, and so we had to send it um, to Vice Germany. Thankfully, Vice had offices all over the world even then. Um, and so we sent it to Vice Germany and they sent it along. Um, and then one time in really bad they were in a really bad situation and I had to wire transfer. I had to Western Union them money. And I think that was a problem. I think I hold on.
All right.
So yeah, sending them money via Western Union I think got me extra attention at border crossings for a while. Um, but other than that, but I frankly, that's an actual like legitimate and good use of that kind of surveillance because if a random 24 5 year old white kid Western Union $600 directly to some Iraqi refugees living in Syria, or maybe it was Turkey at the time. You should look into that guy when he's traveling internationally,
Yeah, that's true.
like at the border. So that was the closest, but no, there was no like we were worried maybe for them because they were in a much more dangerous place and situation. And there was always just that ticking clock of like how long can they even sustain themselves in the kind of refugee pipeline. Um, yeah.
Well, going off Rich's question, I think maybe Rich might have had a question similar to this, but I'm gonna say since the documentary, I mean, we've seen basically how they were treated or how with the laws and stuff about them being into metal and stuff like that. Um, how has I mean, no matter where you are, your culture follows you wherever you go. Um, how has those guys been treated in the Iraqi community? As far even here in the United States, I mean, do they treat them a little differently? Do they still get like black sheep them? How are they treated? Considering the film
That
that came out 20 years ago and how they were perceived.
yeah. Yeah, I don't not nothing notable to my knowledge there. I think it was mostly because they were settled in Elizabeth, New Jersey in the beginning. Now they're all over. It's sort of like a condensed version of raising kids in that like I sort of lost touch with them as individuals. Like after a little while after they settled and we took them to a Metallica concert the first weekend the whole group was there.
Oh wow,
They got
that's
to
cool.
meet they got to meet James Hetfield.
Wow.
There was a clip that was like on Reddit uh that was like when James Hetfield gave the guitar to Faisal. Um and we did a lot of stuff with them and helped them with a lot of the early refugee stuff. They have to do a lot of check-ins and just getting the hang of having a cell phone and things like that were new to them. Um, because again, like cell phones weren't ubiquitous back then
Mm.
necessarily. Um, so yeah, I don't know much about culturally. I mean, they were quick Western adaptations. But yeah, how they've been welcomed by the community, I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't say.
All right. You got something there, Rich?
Let me see. So yeah, it was kind of my next question was basically touched on about the members moving on. Like, they obviously had certain jobs when they were out there. Now, them coming to the U.S., they obviously had to pick up like a new life. How did that go for them when you stayed in contact with them? Like, were they struggling with things?
All right.
Yes, I mean they adapted pretty quickly. There's the one funny anecdote was uh, we were taking them to the Metallica concert, which was more confusion than you'd think. Um, we sent a car to pick them up, and they didn't get in it because just from their background, a black car came asking about them. They were just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, and we were like, shit, we should have told them, like, we sent a car for like that. That's how that happened. Like, that it's not a, yeah, we didn't send a yellow cab because, you couldn't send a yellow cab to New Jersey. Um, so that was kind of funny. Um, and a few things with, I helped them with their like getting their cell phones set up and things like that. Um, but as for acclimating, they already were very westernized, as refugees go, especially, and they had a lot of contact with us, so there wasn't culture shock exactly. Um, More just the tough life of being a musician because it doesn't pay great, even if you're doing well. So,
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, that was hard. And they still had to get like regular jobs. Like just because there's a documentary made about them doesn't do anything. So yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, they got the normal jobs you get, waiters and all that stuff. I'm not sure what they're up to these days. I have been reaching out to a lot of people, like sort of the pandemic closed down, like reaching out to like anyone. I'm sort of reaching out to people I haven't spoken to in a while. I should probably reach out to those guys. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that was. I guess you just went and helped me with my question. I said, since it's already been technically 20 years, well, maybe
yeah,
21 years, depending on how
yeah.
but when everything was already starting to go. Since you did the documentary, is there any chance of like a reunion or an updated, like maybe spin on the guys 20 years since then to see if there's anything maybe worth bringing up? Because I mean, not for nothing. I mean, I know you said that maybe a lot of people are not uh discussing it, but when me and Rich talked about it, he knew it right away. He knew what I was talking
Yeah.
about. I've reached out to. There's a few people who actually do know about the documentary, and it's been talked about, and I'm sure through the books and so on and so forth. As far as the metal community, the metal community is pretty
Yeah.
well versed in the documentaries. When anything that comes out with metal, they're gonna see metalheads are always gonna get drawn to it, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, would there be a chance, considering you said maybe you might want to get back in touch with these guys to maybe, I don't know, something, maybe a little video update, see how they're doing, something like in that to 20 years since the documentary?
I mean, to be honest, I don't think so. I mean, if it's something they're into, they're they are a functioning band, so they can they can do their own kind of publicity. But Vice is sort of like out of business or something. I don't know exactly. I think it's sort of dead. Um, or being sold for parts. I don't know what's going on with it right now,
It's
but
being sold for parts.
there was a documentary called Vice is Broke,
Oh
which
wow.
actually I got interviewed for, but I'm not in the final documentary. So, go see it or whatever, but I'm not there. Um, but yeah, so I don't really see a follow-up, more just like if you know of them as a band, then you know of them as a band, and that's what they're up to. Um, but if you are looking at it from like them as refugees angle. I think it's the way they look at it is like they're not refugees anymore. The story's kind of been told like listen to our music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of like it's not so much like they don't want to talk about it exactly. It's more just like eh, we've gotten we've gotten the information we kind of can out of it. Um, and as for like other people deciding for them, um, like I think those days are over. For you know what I mean? Like it's not like we anybody controls their access anymore. Because I mean, not to say that we controlled their access, but it's we were their go-between for everything in the world for a while. Um, and then as people develop and grow and develop their own relationships, get more familiar with the country, they don't need to do that. And so that was sort of like what was happening when they arrived with the press. Like in the beginning, Vice handled like all of it, obviously. But then after a while, it's kind of like they're like, we don't want to do an interview with like these guys anymore, or like if they're only going to talk about being refugees, whatever, we don't want to do the press. So that was back then. Um, and now I don't really know what their vibe is. But I did see them a couple years ago at a show. They have since I got the band's o- original logo tattooed on my arm, but uh they changed the logo.
Oh
Um
man.
and so yeah, yeah. It was kind of a joke with them. But it's still their original logo. It's
Ah,
still
it's
historical.
when
Um
everything was that whole journey in the beginning. That's to me that's what it will represent. If
yeah, because
yeah.
I'm not like a tattoo guy. I promised that I would get the band's logo tattooed on my arm um to Marwan when I was saying that, like, because he was worried he wasn't going to get into the country.
Okay.
He was the last one to arrive, the drummer. Um so and in like one of the calls I was just like I will, like he's like, oh, he's like, you got most of them in, like you're gonna do something else with your work. Um just things looked bleak, so he was feeling defeatist, and so I told him that I get the band's logo tattooed on my arm when they all got in, and then they all got in, uh, and I knocked off work. It was like a Friday, I'm pretty sure, um, and it was almost the cover of the book. My like it was still like bloody. There's a mock-up of it somewhere. I think it might even still be on the internet somewhere. Um, but they went with as the cover I showed you guys, the dinged up guitar, burned up guitar. Um, which I think Shane told some late night host that he was being interviewed with that it was like from Iraq, but it wasn't. We just like blowtorched and smashed up a guitar in the office.
Just give it a cool look. Give it a cool look.
Yeah, like um but I think I don't know, Jimmy Kimmel or maybe Jimmy Fallon or somebody uh I think has it now.
Yeah,
The cover guitar.
I thought, yeah, I think it is Jimmy Fallon. I think I saw something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
Rich, you got something?
Yeah, I wanted to just shift gears for a little bit, and ask you about you worked on another film, and unfortunately, I don't have the title of it. That I think it was about a photographer in the music scene. Um,
yes, the Mick Rock documentary.
yeah. What was your role in that? Like,
Well, yeah. I was my producer in that was Monica Hampton. She was like the main producer at Vice, the video part for the years that I was there. And she's fantastic. And so like after is this was after yeah, this is after I had left Vice. Um, she asked me if I wanted to work on a documentary with her. But the part we were working on was being shot up on 106th Street. There's a film studio, or a whatever soundstage, on 106th and Park. So we were filming a flashback, like a sort of framing scene of Mick Rock being put into an ambulance and rock and roll suicide, uh, the song playing, and that was going to frame the interviews and stuff like that. And Mick Rock was there, but that was the part that they ended up axing and reshooting. So the part I worked on is not in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Um, it's another.
It is. Yeah, it's like
But I got paid.
Yeah.
I got paid, and also during the filming, I got the sickest I ever got in my like whole life, like hallucinating in bed, sick, um, and didn't miss a day, um, because because especially working with your old producer, it's a very in the same foxhole kind of thing. Like me and Monica worked under really, really, really unfavorable conditions.
wow.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes we work on things really, and we put our best into them, and then they just make the cutting room floor.
yep, it's brutal. It's fucking
Yeah.
brutal. I got, uh, I think, yeah, I mentioned I got interviewed for a documentary about Vice called Vice is Broke, and
Mhm.
then I'm not in it.
Are you like on like a small little blacklist or something? Like what was going on with that?
Nah,
What they
no,
doing that to you?
I think they had enough from because I mean like I gave them background info, um and stuff like that. But this was directed by this guy Eddie Wang, um and who's the guy behind Off the Boat or Fresh Off the Boat or
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Yep.
Um and he had done stuff with Vice, um but they didn't treat him well, shockingly. But what else? I don't think there were any other, like I was high enough up to have to be responsible for stuff and be there late and do a lot of work, but not high enough up to be like one of the guys, so to speak. So it was that awesome little spot in an organization.
Wow.
Um, but it's not nothing bad, just yeah, those were really the only things that I did like through them. I mean, I did like some branded like something for Hewlett Packard, but that's nothing anybody outside that company, and I'm sure a specific division in that company would have seen. So,
Gotcha.
um,
Wow. But now just getting over to this, considering uh, we are a metal channel, and I guess I'm just gonna ask you this: Are you a raging metalhead or a passive fan?
I'm a passive fan. I mean, I definitely like it and absolutely respect it, and I'm aware of the different subgenres, and you know, uh, I, I've been. I mean, I was at Vice for several years, so like True Norwegian Black Metal was another famous documentary they did, um, about that guy. I forget his name now, but some scary dudes. And I like a lot of the music. Never the same way I like, I'd say, like electronic music, where most of what I hear through friends I like, but
Okay.
it's never what I'm like looking to listen to, really.
Okay. So I mean, if you had to,
I mean, I like, actually, like the certainly the mainstream stuff like that may even be more rock than metal, like Metallica and things like that were big in the 80s, and 90s. Um, but yeah, I don't know much about the modern day scene.
oh, okay. Well, I guess one day we're just gonna have to drag you out and toss you in a show with us to, come hang out,
Yeah,
so you can really get a full
yeah,
fledge of it, man.
yeah. No, I like the shows, man. I like the shows.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. But in that retrospect as well, do you think that because I've noticed that since your documentary, the documentary when it came out, there was other, besides the black metal one, there was one about I think they did one about the Native Americans, with the Apaches, the ones that they did their recording. They wanted to do it old school, and they were big Metallica fans, and they got to go to the studio in Europe where Metallica did Ride the Lightning. There was a documentary on those guys. I forgot the name of
Yeah.
the band too. I think oh man, I know I did a little thing on them. And I think there was another one. I don't know if they were skewing off heavy metal in Baghdad, but I think there was one called heavy metal in Egypt. I think. Am I right, Rich? Was there one?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was one
Yeah.
in Iran. There's a heavy metal band that got big there a couple years after. Um, but yeah, I don't know much
Yeah, so
about they
I
were
was just
later.
wondering about that, if you like saw that little trend. I mean, because I think it pretty much started when you guys did that, and then you had
Yeah,
other little things being sprinkled in across, throughout the years.
yeah, yeah. There was like a hip hop in Morocco documentary around
Hmm.
that time. Um, yeah, a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's interesting because like hip hop, um, to get a hip hop act started costs a lot less than to get a metal act started because at the very least the guitars are not cheap in any world or any economy, especially not where these guys were. Um, so there weren't a ton of them uh, because it just wasn't easy to get the supplies, so to speak. And it was also being repressed. I mean, actively, like they had to give their set lists to like the cops before
Oh wow.
performing. Or the equivalent of the cops, the whatever morality police or whatever it was for them at the time. Um, so they knew how to um yeah, they knew how. I don't know exactly where I'm going.
They basically knew, I guess, how to run around it as far as to get it going. I guess like,
Yeah,
because I know in some countries, yeah, it is real rough to get your thing going, especially if it's very politically charged, and you're trying to
yeah.
do something, and they're always going to get into your business, or you know, uh,
And metal is always associated with like, there's a lot of existing political associations, but I think especially it's very much associated in the minds of the authoritarians with like
yeah, just basically.
anti-authority and yeah, just all that kind of stuff. Like, it's not, even some places that view rock as a social kind of contagion, um, certainly aren't going to like metal.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I mean, there's bands to this day that still that they're not allowed to play in countries, or if they go to the country, whoever the government is will send them over there, and they say that they'll see the set and they say, okay, you can't play
Yeah,
this, you can't play that, and
yeah,
and if they do, they'll get arrested.
yeah.
And
No, it's getting scary again
yeah, it's
everywhere.
look, I mean, unfortunately, your music you should have your freedom to express your art the way you want, but sometimes expressing it is just gonna rub people the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You got something else there, Rich?
Uh no, I think I hit on most of the questions, and then you got some, and he really gave us a lot of good info. I'm just kind of quickly looking through my notes. I just wanted to know if there was anything currently that maybe you were working on, or anything that that might be on the horizon. Whether I know that you've done like voice over work before, and just if there's any
Yeah.
any other like upcoming things that personally that you might maybe want to put out there.
Um, well, the thing I'm working on right now is I have an 11-month-old boy and a 2.5-year-old girl who I think has been on camera a couple times.
Yeah.
Um, so since the pandemic, because during the pandemic was kind of pre-production for the children, um, and I have a genetic condition that I wanted to eliminate. So we went the IVF scientific route. Um, and so it was, that was what we were doing during the pandemic. And so that was a full-time job. Um, and if I'm going to have kids, which I had not was not in the life plan until fairly recently, is um, want to spend as much time as I can with them. Um, I would definitely like to get back into voice acting. Part of the problem with that is it's gotten way more acceptable for famous people to do voiceovers for like small products. Um, so that kind of affects it. And then also during the pandemic, anybody who didn't live in New York City, built their own little studio for recording VO. So all these there's a lot more competition, and it's very hard to record and edit auditions here. As you can see, this
Yeah.
is child's room. um like, and this is the best room that I can be in for this, so just to give you an idea. um you know if the weather was nicer, we have a little balcony, but you know yeah. So as for what's next, I mean, I'm definitely talking to people I haven't spoken to in a while. I mentioned I have a friend, this guy Edward Zipko. He runs a gallery out in LA called Super Chief. Um,
Mhm.
and they were he did photography for Vice. He's been a friend of mine for a long time now. Um, they go down to Art Basel a lot. I worked with them on some things. Um, those are guys I definitely want to be involved with in the future.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's right now. My wife does digital marketing and PR, and her business got much better during the pandemic. And I do some of her like video editing stuff like that. Um, so that's keeping me busy.
Nice.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm totally happy with my silent producer over here, Rich, man. He's been a blessing for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I was doing this as a one-man show for a while. He jumped into the mix, and he's been working with me. He's gotten better and better with some of his things, and as far as the that aspect of it, I mean, and with it's like you guys are in the background doing a lot of things and don't get really the notoriety you deserve. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. My niece heard me in a. I'm in a song by, what the hell is the name of the band? Oh, this is terrible. I should know the name of the band. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Give me one second. Um,
What kind of song
yeah,
is it?
it's a EDM song for Bro Safari. Um, Somebody had worked with Advice. No, somebody there is somebody who I had worked with Advice. Their significant other uh, was producing a track for them, and they couldn't license this speech, or this part of a speech, by what's it called, by Steve Jobs. So I did a passable Steve Jobs impression over. um I can send you the link just for fun. uh if you can, in post, want to put it over something, um under something, whatever it is. uh, uh it's been a while since I've been in an edit booth, and they still use tapes when I was doing it. So um hold on a second. Yeah, it was a EDM song for Bro Safari. So yeah,
Well,
stuff like that is a lot of fun. I enjoy voice acting, would love to make more money off of it, but it was just not, is um way more auditions and not enough jobs. And now there's a lot more competition, but sometimes if you get it through a connection, you can become the voice of a product or something like that. But I don't know. I haven't been involved with it in a while.
All right. Well, I got something over here. I got a question for you. Um, and of course, you're going to know who the question is from. It says, "Why is your sister great, and when is her birthday?"
I know it's in April.
Oh,
Um,
oh man, really? I know when
oh,
her
dude,
birthday is. It's not in April.
it's not.
No.
Shit.
Oh, look at that. Oh man, don't let me tell you, man. You should know this.
No,
It's actually tomorrow,
it's tomorrow.
the 31st.
Wait. Oh, it's almost in April. I knew it was like
Your sister's gonna watch this. She's
almost
gonna
in
go, "You
April.
don't remember my birthday?"
You might have to do some editing, Barry.
I know, right? I'm gonna have to hook
About
you
that
up
part.
somehow.
Nah,
Make it seem like
yeah,
you said it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, March 31st. So
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah. And I say, man,
don't make me look too bad.
it was just great by chance that I was able to meet your sister, and she just, oh yeah, my brother, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She's nothing talks nothing but good things about you, and gives you nothing but praise, man.
Yeah,
It's a good thing,
yeah.
man.
She's got good media training.
Yeah. Yeah, man. She works well with the kids, and yeah, she's awesome, man. And you guys have a great
Yeah,
family. And
thank you.
again, we hope nothing but nothing but future success for you, and hope things go well with everything else that you have planned, man.
Yeah, the kids are. I mean, I'm gonna walk out of this room and see how well I did. Because I've heard some things that worry me a little bit, but I think we're good. Um, and yeah, I just threw some links into the chat for you if you want. Uh, one thing I do is for fun is t-shirts because the reason I sell them actually is it's cheaper to make a t-shirt shop on Threadless and order yourself proofs of the shirts you design than it is to like go to a place and get t-shirts custom made.
Yeah.
So like, and I figured enough people like have stopped me and asked for it. I've sold like a grand total of like 30. You know what I mean? Like, um, but it's just it lives up there for when I wear the shirt, I can point people to it.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that's not exactly something I would put in the career section of my life.
You never
um,
know, man. You never know.
yeah.
All right, but look, man, I just I want to thank you for everything. Rich, you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're good. I think we touched up on the movie, the work and stuff, and yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you for being a guest on the show, and thank you for your time. I know it's valuable, and also thank you for being so passionate and involved with the band and the movie and the project, because I mean, it really changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, no, it's definitely whenever I'm kind of like, have I done anything worth talking about kind of because you forget no matter how big a deal something was in your life like if there's not a constant reminder like I mean, I have a fucking tattoo and I
Yeah,
forget that this happened. um so it's nice. It definitely, I feel like I did a pretty just uncomplicated like good thing. um so that's nice, and it's nice that it's something that people actually give a shit about.
Yeah.
um because like, yeah, it's nice doing nice things, but praise, that's really where it's at.
Yeah, man.
Um,
I'm just glad that we're able to do that for you, man. It's something worth talking about.
yeah,
And if it
for sure. Put a link to the book because if people are interested in the story, like I'm not kidding,
if you could,
it tells you everything.
can you please hold up the book one more time a little? Yeah. Yep, there we go. So that people could see the cover. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
Definitely gonna get that.
Is it won't be reversed when you, yeah.
No, it's
No,
good.
yeah.
And it's
It's
still
good.
on
It's good.
Amazon.
It's good.
Yeah.
All right. So look, again, thanks a lot, man. Truly appreciate you coming on and giving us this this history, and it's just greatly appreciated, man. Totally. And hopefully, you know, we'll get some other stuff in the future, man. Maybe it's something. If there's any cool updates or anything like that, and let us know. We'll be more than happy to come on again and talk about it.
For sure. For sure.
All right. So yeah, this concludes our interview with Brian Orce. All right. And I want to thank him for coming on, and my partner Rich, the silent producer, for always being by my side and doing our thing. All right. This is Barry, That Goat Metal Show.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Rich.
Take care, guys.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.